So what we need to do here is graph this and then determine what the max and the min are. So let's go ahead and graph this. By the way, what shape do we already know this is going to be? Parabola. Good. I would probably go back to the Z standard window. Otherwise, you could just stay in the window you're at. It'll graph in that window as well. What do we notice we have here? A max. We're at negative 0.5, negative 0.4, right around there-ish. Alrighty, questions? Okay, very last thing we're going to talk about, and this is something that is very fundamental to the study of calculus, but we're not going to cover it that in depth. Okay. This is what's behind the basis of a derivative. The average rate of change between any 2 points on the graph of f is the slope of the line through those 2 points. And we call that line the secant line. So the secant line travels through 2 points on the graph. And so what we're going to do is we're going to find the slope of that secant line. And that's called the average rate of change. So m down here in the formula, this stands for slope, because you know that m is that abbreviation. SEC stands for secant line. So this is your secant line. So you're saying the slope of the secant line equals f of x2 minus f of x1 over x2 minus x1. Now, it's important to remember that, but I'm going to show you another way that we're going to find that formula, or use that formula. Okay, so this is kind of important. So we want to make sure we get this down, and then we'll look at a few examples. So there you go, f of x2 minus f of x1 all over x2 minus x1. And this is the last thing we're going to cover today. We're going to look at a few problems, and then we'll be done. So let's go ahead and look at our first example. Find the average rate of change of f of x equals negative x cubed plus 3x on each interval. So basically we're going to be doing two problems with the same function. So the first thing what you're going to do here is you're going to find f of negative 2, and then you're going to find f of negative 1. So remember, to find negative 2, or f of negative 2, you're going to plug it into the original formula. So I'm going to plug in negative 2 here for x. Okay. So negative 2 cubed is negative 2, negative 2, negative 2, which is negative 8. The negative of negative 8 is positive 8. So what does that come out to be? 2. Very good. Now what we're going to do is the same thing with f of negative 1. What does that come out to be? Negative 2. Now this is how we're going to find the slope of the secant line, or the average rate of change. I'm going to show you a little trick now. If you wrote it out this way, it's pretty easy. I'm going to take this number minus this number, and that's going to go on the top. It'll always be the numbers by themselves. So 2 minus negative 2, that goes on the top. Now the numbers that go on the bottom are here in the parentheses. So negative 2 minus negative 1. So that's why I wrote it out that way, because then I don't have to memorize a formula. I just look at that. It's the numbers on the right divided by the numbers on the left. Let's go ahead and calculate that. 2 minus negative 2, 4 over negative 1. So your answer is negative 4. So that is the slope of that secant line. So we're going to go through this on letter B again. So B is the point 0, 1. So I'm going to do f of 0, f of 1. So what is 0? 0. What is f of 1? 2. Okay. So the formula to find the average rate of change is the slope of the secant line, and that's going to equal 0 minus 2 over what minus what? 0 minus 1. What does that simplify to be? Positive 2. Good. Because it comes out to be negative 2 over negative 1, which is positive 2. Not too bad? We got one more we're going to look at. It's not any more difficult, it's just because, yeah, I decided to add a third example. What? This is a little longer, so we're going to find f of 2 and f of 3. F of 2. What does that come out to be? Negative 4. Good. What does f of 3 come out to be? I was going to say, I thought it should be 2. So, to find this, I'm going to take the slope of my secant line will equal what over, or what minus what? Negative 4 minus 2 over 2 minus 3. There you go. So, negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6 over. So, your answer is 6. Okay, that's average rate of change. So, once again, we went over increasing, decreasing, constant. We went over max and mins. And then now we went over average rate of change today. That is less than 1/4. Okay, so 2 through 26, the evens, and number 48. And that is due tomorrow. Okay, so 2 through 26.